and welcome back to the best thing you watch this week. We got Chris from Movies and Munchies and myself, Ruben from the Ruby Tuesday. Thank you for joining us, spending your time with us. Week on week, we do a movie quiz when we start. We have a podcast that is all of this, the video side of it, but also an exclusive stuff where we talk about entertainment news, what we're looking forward to, an exclusive review, and the worst thing we watch. We both choose one thing, and that is quite fun. Thank you so much to the audience that joins us there as well. Before we get started, just to remind you, we do have a Patreon. That's for £1. We've got a nice collection of videos, over 40, some outside of the paywall, and a few people there that have joined us that's part of the community, so really appreciate it. Also, as part of this week's video podcast, we have an exclusive guest that you can look forward to. I'm not going to say who it is because you might not know them, or you might, but I think you'll enjoy their geekiness and nerdiness as part of our niche, as part of what we enjoy, reviews, movies, TV, all of that. It's got some interesting stories to tell.
Yes.
And especially on a specific big DC film that's coming out. So I hope you look forward to that. But, hello, Chris.
Hey.
Your movie quiz.
I know I did a theme again this week or last week, and apparently stumped most people on at least one of them because so many people got 2 out of the 3. And so Nostromo got 2 out of 3. Elijah Talbot got 2 out of 3. Master Onion North got 2 out of 3. Chris Retzlaff, who I think won the week before, he didn't guess, but he included some quotes and he helped some people out. So he obviously knew them. So I don't really know who the winner is, but to everybody that named him, hey, welcome, congratulations. I guess you kind of won, maybe.
I got one.
But the answers, I guess that helps too, because we want to know what the answers are, right?
Yeah.
You got one of them. 16 Candles, Uncle Buck, and then Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Damn it, I should have known Uncle Buck. Oh.
It's been forever since I've seen that movie.
Yeah, long time as well.
Yeah.
Ferris
Okay,
Bueller,
so I got... I figured that, the theme was John Hughes movies.
Yeah.
Just in case everybody didn't
and
know
that.
that.
And if you don't know that, sort that out. Yeah.
Yes. There are so many other ones that I could have chosen, but I just went with those 3. So
nice.
There you go. Another theme this week.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Okay.
I think these are fairly well-known quotes. Maybe.
Okay.
Whatever. We're just going to go with it. How about that?
Sure.
Okay. First one. In 1988, the crime rate in the United States rises 400%. The once great city of New York becomes the once great city of New York becomes the one maximum security prison for the entire country.
Oh, I think I know this.
I think you do. Okay, number 2. Somebody in this camp ain't what he appears to be.
Okay.
Number 3. Do you read Sutter Kane? Which that is I think my number 2
all time
favorite horror movie.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let us know in the comments. There's a very clear theme with this, and if you can get one of them, that can help you with that theme. If you get the first 2, that might throw you off a little bit because you might think it's a certain theme and it's not. Anyway, that was vague and unhelpful, and there you go. Ruben, do you have a question for us this week?
Kind of. This will probably lead into the best thing we've watched, actually, so it works quite nicely. Do you have 2 favorites? Because I know you reviewed it this week, but do you have 2 favorite episodes of Visions season 2, the new Star Wars?
Oh wow! Yes. Wait, let me pull them up though, so I can visually see them.
Let us know in the comments as well. which season you preferred, season 1 or 2. At the moment, I really enjoyed season 2, but I think for me, I was looking forward to having more anime, and there wasn't as many anime episodes. It was more different studios doing different, which was great. I love the creativity of what they showed, but definitely season 1 was more anime than season 2.
Yes, there was only really 2, maybe 3 episodes I think that were
I think 2
really
probably.
Anime.
Yeah.
My first one that I liked was actually episode 1, Sith.
Sith that's mine as well. Sith was excellent because of the style, the painting. I mean, it's basically art. That's what I was thinking when I was watching. This is art. Like, it doesn't even matter that it's Star Wars. What we're seeing is some internal conflict of an artist trying to represent what she's going through. And then you get the Star Wars bit, like you have your droid. And then you go to the dark corridor and you're wondering, why is it all black? And so much as I didn't see the thing happening. I didn't get it. I was like, I thought it was a Jedi fighting against the dark side, because every Jedi is tested at some point with the dark side. So I didn't see the twist. But when it was there, when you get to the action, it's freaking awesome. But it's because you've built on that. Sorry, I'll let you talk now. Yeah, it is great.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Well, and I loved, because it is a painting. I loved it. You get to see the brush strokes and everything. But then there are elements of, especially the characters, where it reminded me of that Netflix series Arcane that was rotoscoped, and it had that, it's spellbinding to look at. Yeah. So I love that. Yeah, the story was excellent. I loved, I had said in my review that it's kind of like, at points, it's like a Jackson Pollock painting put on top of a Frank Lloyd Wright sketch.
Yeah.
And it, because you have all of these colors, but then you have the hand-drawn sketch behind it, and outstanding. I don't know on my second one. So The Pit was dark.
That was dark as heck, man.
That was just,
expect, there's a point of a death. Did not expect it. It's like, this was a kid's show, right?
Right. Yeah. Just, well, when they hit the bottom with their pickaxes, and then the Imperial forces do an action, and you're like, oh, that sucks. Just like, what the crap, So yeah, there were, though, like the stop motion ones, I thought were outstanding.
About the Kyber crystal as well, the stop motion one.
Oh, the last episode?
Aouz's
song. Yeah. Because let me ask you this. Was it stop motion or was it CGI that was made to look like stop motion?
I don't know. I thought it was maybe a bit of both.
Okay, maybe.
Because they do that sometimes now.
Well, and you could see like fibers that looked like they were like stuffed, right? Like, or felt characters. But CGI is so good at points that...
Yeah. It could have been the backgrounds and the settings when they're playing with the colors. That could be all CG, and then the movement of the costumes. I'll tell you what, I was disappointed with the Aardman one because I expected some of their humor to come across, but it wasn't. It was Aardman style, but it didn't have their sort of their Wallace and Gromit-ish, your Chicken Run-ish, humor in there. I enjoyed it. There's nothing wrong with it, but I was hoping for something more humorous, and it didn't come across that. And maybe that's my expectations. If I wasn't expecting that, then maybe I would have enjoyed it more.
I thought there was some humor in it that did remind me of those. Okay. I don't think it was excessive like you would find in Wallace and Gromit, where they just, they keep playing on like the silliness. There were little bits here and there. I was more shocked that it was such a short episode.
Very short. I think that's the shortest one, 11 minutes or something.
Well, total runtime, yeah. So you figure it's probably closer to 8 or 9 minutes maybe with all the credits and stuff. So, but
my second favorite would be the Indian one. I'm trying to remember the
Bandits of Golok.
Yes, I think that was incredible, and it was so wonderful to see the Indian culture with Star Wars and Jedi. I love that. So we have the young girl wanting to get her flute, and she messes everything up because she's using the Force. And obviously, we're still in the world where you can't show your powers because the troopers, the Empire, are going to come and get you and destroy you. But then when we get towards the end and we see the altercation, it was such a Yoda moment. You know, how great is it that on the walking stick? Old lady, and then suddenly, she's like, whoa, and then you have like a Sith Indian dude as well. I loved it because they incorporated the culture, but also everything in Star Wars. So visually, it was like vibrant, colorful, but also gut wrenching. There's a theme that went through this series about leaving your loved ones for a better life. Or something, maybe it's not your plan that you wanted for them. So even the last episode, like Aya's song, she has to go off with, because she's Force sensitive, so she can be trained as a Padawan or a youngling. And that's the same with this one with on the train where it starts. And I think there was another one. So it's all about like growing up. And I feel that now because my youngest is about to go to university, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. But it's like, parenting. I've got to change my battery. Sorry, I just disappeared. Look at that still. That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. I am marking that because I want that as a screenshot. Well, as Ruben does that, let us know just some of what, if you got to see Star Wars Visions, what was your favorite? Like Ruben said, did you like season 1 better than season 2? Do you have any favorite episodes? Also, what other studios maybe, or what type of animations would you like to see? If they bring back a volume 3, what kind of animation would you like to see within there? As Netflix's series Love, Death, and Robots has shown us, there is a plethora of ways and ideas that can be implemented, and so it would be cool to see it in the Star Wars universe. But definitely let us know.
Yeah, so it was definitely on the best thing I watched this week because I love animation, I love Star Wars. So putting those two and two, and then seeing the creativity of what each studio comes up with, it pisses me off in a way because these studios, with less than 20 minutes, can tell a contained story that gives you heart, emotion, action. And then you get huge 100 million or more that can't do that for a 2-hour runtime. And it's like, if you gave them the budget to do like what you did for their short and to see a series, then obviously you will look at what the studio's done in the past and go, yeah, that's why they're good at what they do. But like, it just shows you you can do better. Some can do better.
Well, and that, also with that, like, if you think back to like writing exercises or anything, when you're given a short time limit in which to put something out, it forces you to be very creative or to be concise in your storytelling. Yeah. And while not everything needs to be super short, but if you go in with that mindset to hone in what the story is, then you can build on that world. And, and really, think of Last of Us. That's a very simple story, right? And yet, and I haven't played the game, but from what I watched in the series, they expand on so much because they have a very simple story. Person has to get from point A to point B, and they're going to have a few struggles along the way. Well, when you hit this struggle, what's that world like? Spend time examining that world, and that, and as long as it's always reinforcing your point A to point B, you should be okay.
Exactly. Yeah. What was on your best thing?
Well, Star Wars Visions was. Also from the... Actually, I'm going to touch on that afterwards. I'm going to talk about a movie. My wife checked out of it because she was like, no, this is going to piss me off. It's a movie my oldest son he stumbled upon. I don't know how he found it. It must have been down some just rabbit hole of weirdness. he had told me about it a few months ago, and this week I was watching something, and I don't know what it was, but it made it click in my head, and I was like, hey, what was that movie? And he was like, oh, it's this, and it's on Tubi. And I'm like, sweet. Okay. It is wait, let me pull up I need to pull it up on IMDb just so I can get everything correct. So the movie is from 2001.
Okay.
Oh, you like my review already, huh?
This is a giant mosquito. It was like, no.
Ooh, gross. It is Japanese.
Okay.
It is a comedy, fantasy, horror musical.
What? What's it called?
It is called The Happiness of the Katakuris. Now, I'm not saying this is a great movie, but this is a great movie. This is one of those that you have to watch. I think if you watch with people that aren't going to enjoy it,
oh my gosh, The Sound of Music meets Dawn of the Dead.
That's exactly what it is, mixed with some other just weirdness in here. I mean, it is bizarre. It has claymation in it, where they just it starts out in kind of claymation, and then claymation just jumps in. The premise of the story is you have this family who the father lost his job and decided to create a business for their family so that they could just be happy and not tied to like a corporate job. So they find this house, this large house, like an inn type of thing. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but it's by a lake. And the reason they get it is because a giant highway is going to be built near there. So they see this as a business opportunity. People will want to stop on their travels. You know, they can stay. It's a bed and breakfast type of thing. Good to go.
Yeah.
And so they're getting it ready to do this. The road hasn't been built, so they just get kind of stragglers that come along. But what they discover is the people that arrive kind of come to bad ends on just happenstance. And then they have to figure out, they have the dilemma of, well, somebody died. Do we call the police? Well, if we call the police, that's the right thing to do, but that could bring negative impact on our potential business because nobody wants to come to an inn where somebody died, right? And all through this, you have very, very weird dialogue. It just breaks out into song and dance at different times. They're like music videos.
So do you know who directed this? Because that's more mental to me.
Right. And that's the thing. Takashi Miike did this. And
dude. Well, you remember I recently reviewed a series called Connect, and I told you to watch that because it was Takashi Miike.
Yes.
Yeah.
This one, it's on Tubi's worldwide, right? Because it's just a website.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's free. There are ads in it, so you get some ads, that stuff, but it's free. I'm not sure I would want to pay for this. But it is.
How is this on the best thing you watched, though, Chris?
Dude, because it was so much fun, because it was stupid and random, and it put a smile on my face. There are so many little parts throughout this where I'm just like rolling my eyes, and then I'm like, ooh, I'm kind of getting into the song, and they can actually hit their notes on this song, because a lot of the other times they can't hit their notes. And it's the production is very weird because sometimes it looks like it's on a green screen. Sometimes it's still in a physical environment, but yet you can tell that they have so many production lights out because in the middle of the daytime, because the characters are just so lit up. It's an experience, and it's yeah, you gotta watch it because it's just
it sounds absolutely mental, but do you have to be in the right zone to watch it?
I think you do because this is a stupid movie, okay? Right. And it's off the wall and bonkers, and it's a very bizarre take on a whole bunch of different genres that when put together shouldn't work, and sometimes they don't, other times they do within this. It has a story to it, but if you're not in the mood for ridiculous or stupid or weird, this is going to not resonate at all. But also, I was thinking, golly, if I was high or drunk, this would be a funny movie to watch.
Oh my gosh.
It might freak the crap out of me.
It might mess you up, man.
Yeah, it might, but it would be just, I mean, the acting is all melodramatic and just over the top.
Right.
You know, all the situations are just blown out of proportion, but there are funny moments within there. And when you, there's a guy in it. Sorry, it just popped into my head. He's dressed in a Navy outfit, and he's clearly Japanese, or excuse me, I don't know if he's clearly Japanese. He is clearly not white, okay? And he is not white American. And yet he tells this other person in Japanese that he is he's an American naval pilot. Pilot? Yes. But specifically with the British Royal Navy.
What? Wow. Okay.
And then he floats in the air. So, yeah. Just, okay. Yeah, but if you have friends who have the bent sense of humor, something like that, give it a watch. You will regret it, and you won't all at the same time.
Okay, I love movies like that sometimes.
Sometimes, yes. Oh goodness. Okay, enough ridiculousness from me. What's on your list?
Also, something is a little bit silly, but probably way better than what you watched. This is a British series, brand new, currently on BBC iPlayer. So wherever you watch BBC iPlayer in the US, you'll have to do that. I think it's going to be a short series of 6 episodes. It's a comedy drama, short, half an hour. And so it's the story that follows the story of Dom and Kay, who join the Met Police in the hope of cleaning up their community, but are unwittingly thrust into the murky world of deep cover infiltration as they become part of a powerful criminal enterprise. Now that sounds really serious. What it actually is these two guys that are not two guys. It's a lady and a gentleman. I'm trying to find their names. And I can't find their names. 2 British African people that are what do you call them? They're not actually police officers. They don't have the ability to arrest, but
they're not even constables. They're just public safety officers.
Yeah, basically that. But what we get here in the British with the Met, and the lady, she's really smart. She's asked for she's been looked over promotion a number of times. And so she's kind of just given up. And so now she's just kind of doing the job to get by. And the same goes with the dude that's with her. Is not particularly smart, but they also come from, they're not street savvy. They don't come from the streets. They come from like a rich area, like the dad's a doctor, that kind of thing, up market, not in like high-rise buildings where you get what would be considered, I guess, their version of the slums, but you don't really get slums. It's just, diplomatic. I don't even know how to say it.
Estate housing?
Yeah, estate housing. But not everybody I'm trying not to say everybody in the state housing are criminals. That's really not what it is.
It's like a sketchy neighborhood.
Yeah, sketchy neighborhood areas. So
sure.
There's a group of people, and their name is something, the Black something. And so this guy that's trying to investigate them to take them down, he keeps getting given white undercover cops that know nothing about the streets, and he keeps saying to them, what am I going to do with 2 white guys, like a white lady and a white guy, like 2 police officers? How are they like, you asked for undercover cops, this is what we have. You say, look at the gang, they're all black. And they're like, what do you want? And so he goes and finds these 2, makes them a deal. And so the first episode really is setting that up, but he makes them a deal. Like, in order to do this, you need to get yourself fired so that you can legitimately say, like when you're trying to infiltrate the gang, that you have like some backing and you need to get some drugs. And so he gets them all in trouble. And the whole time you're worried for them because it seems like an unsanctioned mission. And this guy has a vendetta against this particular gang for some reason. And you find out, as the story. So there's some drama and heart in there, but it is funny in the way that it's British funny. Like, it's not like, ha ha ha. It's funny that these two should not be undercover. These two should not be infiltrating a gang. They don't know how to speak. They don't know how to act. They say the wrong things all the time. And somehow they still end up being like getting the job done at the start. And so it's a weekly release. They're half an hour, very easy to get through. But this is like top tier Britishness. Like,
what's
the comedy. Did I not say? Brilliant. No. The whole time I've been talking. And this thing, and you can just guess. It's called, it's called Black Ops, which is funny because it's not obviously like the game, like Black Ops, especially Black Ops. They're black cops, ops, and it's a black operation. The tagline is "Shift got real" rather than "Shit got real." It's that sort of humor, and so far I'm loving it. I think it's really good. I think if you like that sort of humor, you're gonna love it. I don't think it's playing
in the US at all.
No, well, use a VPN and jump in, Chris, because it's great.
Well, it's got Robbie G from Snatch. And Adam Colborn, who is one of the three in Ted Lasso who hangs out at the bar at the pub. Dude. Okay.
Yeah, I think you love this. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. I gotta find out how to watch this.
Sorry, it took me a while to get around to actually getting words out there.
No, that's fun. That's really cool. Yeah, it debuted today, right?
Yeah, right today. Yeah.
So have you seen all of it, or just
no? Okay. I've got a few of the episodes, but I'm just kind of watching them just before they come out, and then seeing it. I may do like a complete review when it's all out. But I think these type of short episodes are really hard to do reviews for without spoiling, which is why I was a bit tongue-tied, because I'm kind of giving you a recap of what's happened within the first episode, and I don't want to spoil anything, but I want to give you enough to say this is why
it's worth watching.
Yeah, this is kind of what you're getting. So if you liked the idea of that, you're probably going to enjoy this. Yeah.
It sounds great. It sounds right up my alley. So, I mean, just from the first, the incorrect description sounded really good too. So I was like, ooh, okay, I'm there. Nice. My next thing is Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton story. 6 episodes, kind of the prequel series within the popular Netflix Bridgerton series.
Have you watched Bridgerton?
I have. I loved season 1. Actually, I liked season 2 too. I thought it was really good. Both of those are sorry, I had crap falling off my desk.
Shooting crap in your desk.
Well, that's problem number 1. Actually, problem number 2. But
duty.
Sorry, everybody. I apologize. Please don't unsubscribe. Yeah. So I like the Bridgerton world. I like the stories that have gone. I love the romance angles of it. I thought this last episode or this last season with Kate was just frustrating and so awesome. This, and I've always liked the Queen. We don't get a lot of her.
No, and that's what I've always said. I always wanted to know more about her.
Well, and in season 2, I don't know if you remember, but there was this one little point where Kate's sister Edwina, she encounters King George. And from what we've seen, he's kind of in a haze. He's kind of confused. If you go, with like that movie, The Madness of King George, I mean, he's got something going on with him. But in that small little brief window, not only do we watch Edwina give great compassion to the king, but we see the look in the eyes that the queen has for the king. Yeah. And there is true love there, and there is connection there. But
what's going on?
We haven't gotten any of that,
Yeah.
So this series gives us all of that. From it starts off with her being betrothed to the king,
sold off. Yeah.
So exactly, for political gain and safety, security, and and she's headstrong, which is great because that's what we see anyway.
Yeah.
There's clashes, and he's mysterious, but he's already at this point going through the things that we kind of see. And the series, did you watch the series?
No, I've seen the first episode. Okay. So all I've seen is him being a douchebag to her, and I don't know why, which I'm guessing why he lives separately. There's a big reason for that. Yeah.
There is, and it's explained, and I love that some of the surroundings of that, the environments that we see and that where it takes place have meaning throughout. It's not just a location. It actually has some meaning in why he does it, and there's like a tie that is drawn back to a couple of times, and it's very emotional and it's heartfelt, and so it really it feels good and it resonates. We also get the backstory on Lady Danbury. So we get to how does she even have an in with the Queen? How did this come about?
Yeah, she's great.
She is. Well, and I like that we get some of the current Bridgerton actors in there in this season. So it's not only just
because they do jump forward. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, it doesn't live there for a long time, but every little bit, and it helps reinforce. So we're seeing the bookend as they kind of as the past catches up to the present there, and I thought it was wonderfully done. I mean, it is funny. It is emotional. It's not, there is a romance story within it, but it's so much more than that. So if you're looking at this, if you're going into this because the first two Bridgerton stories have been all about, marrying somebody off or the relationship of a couple, this is still about the relationship of a couple, but it's not that, are they going to fall in love and how do they fall in love and their courting of that. It's they've been put together already, and now it's navigating through that, and the Queen having to not only just associate or acclimate herself to the king's world, but all that encompasses as well. So I loved it. I was fully enthralled in it. I do think there are a little bit of repetitious moments here and there, and it drags a little bits throughout, but it's funny. I thought the young actors did an amazing job, especially because like Lady Danbury and the Queen, they're already established as adults, right? So if the young actors can't capture that sentiment, then there's no tie to it.
Studied the series and maybe spend time with them, get those mannerisms, the way they move, the way they talk, hold themselves, so that we see that. But I think from what I saw, even from the first episode, they definitely managed to do that. At least the Queen did, for sure. Yeah. So it's good. It's I think it's definitely worth it, especially if you are a fan of the series. It's funny, I've seen some mixed reviews actually, and more so it seems like people, I think maybe that haven't enjoyed it have gone in with maybe the wrong expectation. Right. Like they were thinking this is just your steamy romance that the first two seasons kind of were, and it's not really what this is. So okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
For my third and final act of my life.
Yes.
I was lucky enough to get sent 10 episodes from the Apple original TV series called Silo.
I was hoping you were going to talk about this.
Yeah. I've read the 3 books.
Okay.
Well, I've read the first book and I listened to the audiobooks of the second 2. So I went into this quite worried. Interested because it has a great ensemble cast. It's crazy good.
Yes, it does.
From
David
Rebecca
Oyelowo.
Ferguson, who plays our protagonist, which I'm worried about because Rebecca Ferguson is such a high AAA actress now that she definitely needs to come back and do season 2 and 3. But she's off doing Dune or Mission Impossible or big, but yeah, Tim Robbins, Ian Glenn, who plays her father, Dr. Pete Nicolas, got Will Patton, who is incredible in this, the guy Shane McRae, who plays Knox, David Aleo, Sheriff Holston, fantastic screen presence he has in this series. Common is also excellent in this. There's literally the list is great. It just keeps going. Have you seen any of this, Chris?
I didn't get the screeners, so I'm watching with the regular people. But I only got to see episode 1 last night because it was just late when I started it, and I wanted to be fully present for episode 2, even though I know episode 2 is also out. Yeah. I have one caveat. Okay. Because you've seen the whole thing.
Yes.
We've seen at least the premise of this story many times. Yes. Where post-apocalyptic world, people live under the ground but they feel that they are tricked or being hoodwinked or something, and so they want to try and get out, even though everybody says it's bad to be out, and then there are alternate ways or mysterious ways maybe that you could escape. Because, I mean, you've got City of Ember, The Giver, even The Matrix, and to some degree, 12 Monkeys, you know? Big Mosquito?
Yep.
Okay. Just your look, it was like, whoa. But anyway, you know what I mean? And so, like, I'm hoping, and please tell me this, especially because you've read the books, does it do something different in the grander picture of things, so that it doesn't follow this very familiar path?
It's a really good question. I mean, in my review, I put, this isn't the teen angst or post-apocalyptic series that we've had a lot of. So that's got that in the tick. It's not a CW series. This is a very adult series. But it's also a very family series. But it also is there's a big theme of like dictatorship here, but behind the scenes dictatorship. About control and about why they're controlling. I think one of the big differences between those others that we've had, so here is a society that has already lived for over 100 years, maybe 140. Yeah. But before that, history has been wiped out. They know nothing about what has gone on. So around that, like, everything is illegal. You're not even allowed to say, I want to go outside, because if you go outside, you die because it's poisonous. If you say that, you immediately go out. There's no coming back from that. Yep. So everything is controlled. There are 2 rules in the silo. No mechanical lifts, and no, I can't remember something else, but basically, like, they shy away from technology as much as possible, even though they have the IT people that are pretty much in charge of running everything behind the scenes. And then you have the mechanical, the down deep, which takes you days to get to. You know, you have to like camp along the way if you're going to visit and you're from up top. And most people in their own cultures, because it's 10,000 people living in one silo, have never even gone down deep, or like, might see family members that have ended up working in the down deep once every 10, 15 years. It's that sort of thing. It's very rare that they kind of congregate together. It would only be when things start to go wrong, which is kind of what you start seeing in here. Now, what I said in my review is I don't know if I'm enjoying it as much because there are moments that I'm looking forward to because I have the expectation already of
the book.
Of the books. I know, like, this bit's coming, and I love the second and third book, and I know there's these big climatic things or where it's going next. I like the story. I think it's better than most of those those post-apocalyptic stories. There is, I don't know if it's different, but I think the way it's handled is different. There certainly is, I think, surprises of things that you won't see what's coming. It certainly is darker than I was expecting. So far, Ferguson is great, although the character that I had in my mind, she's lighter, even though she's still like a mechanic and stronger. Ferguson plays us very, very serious. And I felt like there was a bit more playfulness in the book that I was reading. So they have changed a few things. They've pulled little bits from the other books and placed it in, I guess, for what works for the series. So that's always going to be the case. But for the most part, they are sticking to what works. You get to see each zone, and then you get to see why they're controlled, and then you are basically on a journey of discovery in a murder, a whodunit murder. So there's a big arc of who's controlling everything. Yeah. There's a big arc of what's happened to our history. Why aren't we allowed to do that? And then she ends up being in law enforcement for one reason or another. And she has to investigate murder. So you get to go on that with her as she's discovering this. There's a tenseness to this that's always there, because you never know if she's going to die from one episode or who's going to live. And when people start dying in this series, you're like, oh, really? They died? Oh, okay. I thought they were a main character. So that keeps it fresh. I think the filmmaking, the sets, and the acting with the dialogue is what makes this stand out above the rest. So even though it's a familiar genre, it's probably done in such a way that will keep you riveted. My wife would not let me watch this by myself, and I really wanted to get a review out earlier, but we were watching like in her lunch breaks and in the evenings, and then I was like, okay, fine, I'll wait.
Yeah, we started it last night, and not really knowing anything about it. I don't even think I'd seen really a trailer. I had just seen little clips of a trailer. There hasn't
been much marketing. This is a huge IP. I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's really, with all of the names, like I went on to IMDb because I was like, who all is in this? And I started looking at it, I'm like, holy crap. There are just a lot of people. Well, for me, this ticked a lot of boxes right off the get-go, even though the setup felt very familiar, the world that we're living in, but the whole, when doubt is raised, that, and then they give us little hints here and there of like, ooh, what is that? Like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay, what is it? What's going on? What does this lead to? I want to see more of this. Show me more. Dang it. Don't walk off. Come back.
You want to know more. Yeah. There are some surprises that I think people won't see coming. If you haven't read the book, you won't expect it to be what it is. You'll have some understanding of what's going on inside, and you'll expect some things because they allude to it.
Okay.
But the whys and the hows and what's happened around that, you were like, oh, that's different. So
cool.
Yeah. I loved it. Like I want more now. Unfortunately, thankfully it's Apple, so we'll probably get a second season because they're quite good at, but we might have to wait 2-3 years. So
yeah, hopefully not though, because they're coming back with season 2 of Foundations.
That's true.
Fairly quickly, and that's a big scale.
That is big
sci-fi show. So yeah, okay, dude. I'm glad you got to see the whole thing, because I was once we started.
Another thing I don't know about the week on week, like chunks probably would be better.
Okay, well, and because I don't have it early, that's probably how I will end up watching it. That because the first episode's an hour, the second episode is like 50 minutes, something like that.
They're all about
now
that.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how long the rest of the episodes are, but if they're under an hour, then watching like 2 hours back to back, 2 hours in total.
Yeah, they're all about that. Nice. That the pilot episode was the hour, and then it's like about 45, 49 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll probably, so you recommend maybe doing like every other week?
Yeah.
So that you watch 2 at a time?
2 at a time would be nice, I think. It's a good... Yeah, you're going to be frustrated, especially like some of those, like the cliffhanger of the answer. They'd be like, God damn it. Gotta know.
Yeah.
Stick the next one on. Like, I can't.
Right now. Cool. Yeah, okay. Well, that was your last one? Anything else?
No.
Okay. That's all I got. So you're going to see the magic of filmmaking, and there's going to go from 2 to 3 as our special guest joins us.
So we have a very special guest with us, Neil Vagg, who I recently came to know through Twitter, it's sometimes a great place and sometimes not such a great place. But I'm so glad that Neil's I think you recently said, I want to do some more podcasts. Who's out there? And I reached out and you said, yeah, let's join. So thank you so much. But for those who don't know you, apart from our little geeky world, who are you and what do you do?
Who am I? So I thank you very much as well for having me on as well. This is awesome. I am the editor and owner, creator of a website and podcast called Get Your Comic On. We are celebrating our 10th anniversary this year. It's a small little thing that I started 10 years ago on a bet, actually, which was I'd gotten married the year before. My honeymoon was in San Diego. My husband and I wanted to go to San Diego Comic-Con. Neither of us had been before. Failed to get tickets, but had already booked this holiday. Went on, had this awesome time in California. Came back, and my birthday's around the same time every year as San Diego. So we got back, and some friends were like, we were out for drinks for my birthday, and they said, look, place a bet with you. In 10 years' time, if you start a website, you'll get a press pass. So started this website thing, didn't really know what I was doing, fumbled around for a while. After 5 years, really started trying to put some effort into it, started a podcast, started doing all the big things, doing social media a lot more. And here we are. This year, we celebrate 10 years. Our 10-year anniversary of the website is the week of San Diego Comic-Con. We have press passes this year for the 10-year anniversary, completing the bet. And it also happens to land on the week of our 100th podcast. So this is a really, really big year this year.
Amazing.
Big year.
Congratulations.
But yeah, if people want to kind of find our stuff, we're on all podcast platforms. Just Get Your Comic On. And our website is www.getyourcomiccon.co.uk.
Nice.
Sweet.
And from what I can see, you are very much in, well, not just the DC world, but like comic zone, very much geek, nerdy, that kind of niche.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm a big DC fan, kind of born and bred DC fan. Also love Star Trek. That's another one of my big ones, and have ticked some major Star Trek boxes this year as a fan and a journalist. But everything kind of comic books, we cover as much as we possibly can.
Nice. Chris, did you want to ask anything?
Gosh, what are some of the coolest events that you've been to over the last 5 or 10 years, or 1 year, even if it's...
Yeah, so it all kind of kicked off 5 years ago with this. So sadly, my mum passed away 5 years ago from cancer, and I had this weird existential moment where I went, I don't really know why I'm doing this, but it's kind of working. But if I'm going to do it, you know what? You only live once. Let's just push it. And suddenly, stuff started happening, and so I have had the pleasure of going to so many cool events over the years. Recent favorite, Evil Dead Rise, did this amazing event in it's the old Battersea Power Station in London. It's this very famous London landmark with these huge towers that they've recently kind of reconstructed into most of it's apartments, but there's kind of like a shopping centre sort of arcade inside, and there's a huge cinema in the middle of it, really beautiful cinema. And they put on a very cool event with actors who were in the crowd, so we didn't realise, we thought they were guests. But then they would turn into deadites just as we were all sort of milling around doing stuff. Gosh. So, spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen the film, but there's a scene in the film where someone's eating glass. So at one point there was a guy who went up to the bar, and I was stood next to him, and he just asked for a drink, and then he started eating the glass.
What?
And then the blood spilling out of his mouth, and the person behind the bar is screaming, and then he's growling at everyone. So cool. And at the same time, there's all this other stuff going on around. There was a photo op where you could hold the chainsaw, and there was this other little there's this booth that you could stand in, and the only way to get the photo in this photo booth was to scream loud enough to activate the camera. And I very proudly had the loudest male scream of the night, apparently.
Nice.
Amazing.
That was awesome. And then I've been to some really cool DC stuff. So I was at the premiere of Shazam recently, which was really, really fun. So all the cast and crew were there. I got to interview David F. Sandberg, who was lovely, such a nice guy.
Nice.
Really good to chat to him, because he's someone that likes to talk about filmmaking, and really he kind of avoids the sort of fluffy questions that you often get in a junket, and really goes deep. So we were talking about props and practical effects and stuff that they were doing on set. So that was
really
cool
interesting stuff. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. He has a really interesting YouTube channel as well, where he actually dives really deep into his process and talks about what kind of he gives an insight into what it's like for him as a director promoting stuff like this. So I got an insight from watching that as to what he would respond to a little bit more, which is really nice. Right. I think when you're doing an interview, to actually try and talk to somebody about what they want to talk about, rather than kind of doing would you really like Shazam to square off with Superman or like with Batman? So there's me coming in and I go, right, okay, so those monsters, they were practical heads on set, right? And he's like, yeah, they were. So that was,
amazing.
Yeah. Very cool.
Definitely.
You can see actors, directors, when they're asked the different questions, the question that they haven't been asked 20, 30 times or 100 times, they light up and go, finally someone that has done their research and can ask me something that's informative.
I try and go into that scenario wanting to also ask questions that I actually want to hear an answer to. Because I don't tend to respond to that kind of like, oh, who do you want to see them fight that's not in this movie, or who might cameo in this movie that's actually about this other character. So I go in there actually wanting to just talk to them about the thing that I want to hear them talk about, which I think so far, touch wood, is working for me.
Nice. Okay, so on the best thing we watch, we generally talk about the best things we watch this week or the weeks before, just stuff that really is standing out to us. In our audio segment, we have gone into the worst thing we watch, but because we have you for a set amount of time, is there stuff that has stood out to you this week between comics and movies?
Okay, it's been a bit of a quiet week for me for movies. Comic book wise, we had a new issue of Batman this week, I'm so lucky. This year I've managed to get DC to actually send me review copies, so I need to be careful because I'm reading 3 weeks ahead. So I need to pull myself back.
Right.
Pull back.
No. Spill it all right now. Right.
I was just reading issue 2 of Green Arrow that's out towards the middle of May, so I could tell you. So there was a really great issue of Batman this week, which is, I think it's 135 in the current numbering, but legacy numbering was the 900th issue. So it's kind of the culmination of Chip Zdarsky's current arc and what he's doing with Batman. They brought back George Jimenez, who's the artist who's done a lot of the Batman stuff with James Tynion. So he came back to do a few guest pages in this issue, and it's so good. If you're not reading it, basically Bruce has been trapped on another Earth. We don't know what Earth it is, but Bruce, being Bruce, is just, instead of trying to get home, he's just trying to help that Gotham because it's in a real bad state. And I won't spoil who the villain is. There's a big twist with the villain, and it's kind of a multiversal thing, so it's really big for Batman. It's not doing the kind of Detective Comics ground level crime. It's doing something a bit more multiversal. And to celebrate it being 900 issues, he ends up traveling across quite a few different Earths, and there are some amazing cameos in it, which are just drawn so beautifully. I will tell you one, which is Michael Keaton is in there. And Michael Keaton looks outstanding, drawn by Jorge Jimenez. It's the best I've ever seen Keaton look outside of a movie.
That's so cool. I love that they've done that. Is it digital and physical, or is it just digital?
DC do digital and physical pretty much every issue every week. So it's they release on Tuesdays now rather than Wednesdays, which is interesting.
Chris, do you need to get the
no, I think. Well, my buddy is like going nuts at the door. I think we're okay. Okay, you go ahead. I have a question, but go ahead and you talk to him while I either deal with the dog or whatever. I don't know. He may settle down, so I can just mute myself. Yeah. I'm gonna mute myself, and there we go.
Pets, gotta love them.
I'm trying to think what I've been watching this week. I'm going to be completely honest. I may have been rewatching Star Trek Picard because I can't quite give it up yet, even though it's obviously already finished. I'm not willing to let it go just yet, so I'm sort of rewatching it and binge watching it.
I mean, we can talk about Picard if you want.
Oh, we absolutely should. One other show which I am going to champion. Oh, go on.
No. Go ahead and finish that thought. But before we get to Picard, I do have a question.
Oh, go for it. Yeah. Okay. I realise I am going to end up sounding like a complete DC fan, which I know I am, but, I can't help it. But I absolutely implore anyone that is not watching Superman and Lois to start watching this program, because season 3 is one of the best seasons of any DC TV show I have ever seen. It's incredible what they are doing. They're doing quite an intense storyline with Lois that's sort of a potentially life-threatening medical scenario with her that's very human and very, very raw, and it's so well written, accurately written as well from a kind of medical standpoint, as well as just being brilliantly written. And Bitsy Tulloch, who plays Lois, is just... I say this, I'm staking this claim, she is my favourite Lois Lane of all time.
Oh,
the stuff that she is doing is unbelievable. And the way they're playing it, because there's still all the superhero stuff going on, there's still the Superman stuff, and the stakes are massive. The VFX in this show are so far beyond what should be on the CW. It's unbelievable. But they're doing the whole superhero thing, and then this just amazing, incredibly human and really tough storyline. And it's unbelievable to watch every week. So I just implore people to watch it because it's so good.
Is it true it's coming to an end?
So I think James Gunn has said he feels personally like it's got a couple of seasons left in it, which would probably take it up to around the time that Superman Legacy would be releasing.
Right, okay.
I think they've really loosened the reins from where they were in kind of the noughties and the 2010s, where it was like you can only have one version of a character at any one time. If they're on TV, they're not in a movie, and if they're in a movie, they will never be on TV unless it's sort of kids' cartoon. They seem to have released themselves from that a little bit. They've kind of calmed down a bit, which is great, but I think they're thinking it may run for another couple of seasons, but we'll see. I really hope it does because they're so brilliant together. They are a wonderful, wonderful pairing of actors. And given how well it's written this season, the thing that really surprises me though is it's written by, so it's being showrun and executive produced by the guy that did basically what most people would see as the worst few seasons of The Flash.
Okay.
So all those years of The Flash that people were complaining that it was really kind of tanking, that guy then left and is doing this show, which is it's like chalk and cheese. It's so weird to see that The Flash was the way it was, with all that "you are my lightning rod," everything solved with love, to then being this incredibly well written show. It's strange. It just makes me wonder what happened with The Flash. But, it's not yet. Should be around for a couple more years yet, hopefully.
Cool. Chris, what was your question?
Yeah,
so my question, going back to Batman, really quick. Excuse me. I don't read the comics, but if I wanted to jump in, do I have to start at Legacy #1 to read all 900?
No.
Where can you jump in so that it makes sense?
This arc starts, I think, 4 or 5 issues ago. So it'd be somewhere around the sort of 129, 130 this arc starts. Or you could... So this is the second arc written by Chip Zdarsky. So you could go back to which issue was his first one. So he's only been on it for maybe about 12 months now. And very much when he came on, it's not like a reboot or a restart or anything, but it's a brand new story from when he comes in. So you can kind of pick it up from where he comes in. So I tend to find the best times to jump in are when you've got a new creative team coming on board. If it's not a new #1, then when a new creative team comes on board tends to be a good time to dive into these things.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That's good.
Nice. Picard. So last week I was talking to Chris about how amazing season 3 is, but I wasn't a fan of season 1. I loved the pilot, and then it just didn't feel Star Trek to me, and I didn't like the long monologues from Picard. I didn't see how it wasn't fitting for me. And I think some people would agree with that. I think the latter half of season 1 and 2 are much better than the first half of season 1 and 2. But it just feels like an about turn. I don't know what happened. But season 3 is literally some of the best Star Trek I've ever seen. It's just amazing. But yeah, I'm eager to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's interesting, isn't it? It's almost ended up being like an anthology show because they had a different showrunner for each season. So you had Michael Chabon that did season 1. I'm going to unfortunately forget the name of the person who did season 2. And then you've got Terry Matalas who did season 3. And there is a marked difference between each of them. And interestingly, Terry was on board for some of season 2, which I think tends to be the beginning and end, which is the present day stuff. And then the person that showrun in the middle. I very much think season 2 was a victim of the pandemic, though, because you can kind of tell that they weren't doing all the big sets. They weren't doing kind of the big crowd stuff. It was very, very focused on just the small group of core actors. But I agree with you. Season 3 is some of the best Star Trek I have ever seen. It is just season 8 of The Next Generation in many ways, or the next movie of what they would have done had they continued. And I'm so glad, because so TNG is my Star Trek. That's the one that I grew up on. We were years behind, weren't we, in the UK? We didn't get it until about 4 years after it started in the US. So we had to catch up quite quickly. So I obviously came to it slightly later than the US audience, but then I grew up with it, and from then on have just been a devoted Star Trek fan. So to see my crew come back together for a 10-hour, and it really is a 10-hour movie as well. I don't. When people say that, when they were talking about it before the season was out, it's like, is it really going to be a 10-hour movie, or But it really is. You hang all the way through every single episode. It's just outstanding, and I don't think even within those 10 episodes there is a single dud. Every episode is great in its own right. There is no moment across the season where I went, well, okay, I'd skip that in a rewatch. I feel like the whole thing, you have to do the whole thing. It's brilliant. I want more, please, Paramount. Star Trek Legacy. Make it happen.
Do you like Strange New Worlds? Like, how would you compare that?
I do. Yes, I really, really do. I'm rewatching it at the moment. It's releasing on 4K in the UK next week, so I just got my review copy. So I'm rewatching it, and it's stunning in 4K. It is absolutely beautiful. The sad fact of Paramount Plus in the UK is it doesn't support 4K, which it does in the US. So the US audience has got to see it in 4K when it's streamed, but we don't have that support here yet for some reason. So weird. I've only seen it. Yeah, it's odd. It's odd. I've only seen it in just HD. So watching it in 4K, I mean, the set design and stuff is just beautiful. But
nice.
I'm excited. We've got about a month to go until it comes back.
Yes, as season 2 is
June the 15th for season 2.
Very excited for that. I came a bit late to that, but once I started watching, I was like breathing a sigh of relief, like, this is Star Trek. This feels right.
The really exciting thing now as well is they've realized that they should really do global release days, because for Discovery, Lower Decks, Picard, everything New Trek, it's been Thursdays it streams in the US and Fridays in the UK. So spoilers are abound. Before we've even got to it. Whereas from this season of Strange New Worlds onwards, everything is same day. We will get it at the same time as America. Although I think with the time difference, we may actually see it first. It depends, I guess, what time of day they'll drop the episode. But we will at least be global now, so there's less chance that we'll be spoiled beforehand, which is, I'm really glad of that.
This is something Chris and I have been talking about that we feel needs to be sorted out across media world release dates, because I mean we're literally getting Beer is Afraid.
Beau's Afraid.
Beau's Afraid, and that's been out for weeks, and all my friends are, my film critic friends is like, this is well, it's very divisive, this is rubbish or great, but I know we've seen films at the cinema that sometimes are on Blu-ray already in the US, and so I don't know if that'll ever be the case, but I'm glad that is the case with Star Trek. That's a good move. If you had to choose two of your favorite TNG family members out of all, who would you choose?
Riker and Troy.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Straight away. Well, they were my favorites when I was a kid, and they're my favorites now. They have some really beautiful moments, I think, in this season as well. I love the fact that they've talked about it a lot, I think, in the press for it, but the fact that Gene Roddenberry never wanted any conflict between them back in the days of TNG, so everyone just got along all the time. No one really argued all that much, and that this was their first sort of opportunity to squabble with each other on screen. So I loved how they complicated their relationship, especially because we'd given them the backstory in season 1 of the son that had passed away, that had died, and that there was some kind of unspoken grief around that, and that they confronted that this season. I thought was lovely. But then again, I'm probably spoiling things, but there's such a beautiful moment between them in the finale as well, where I think Riker thinks he's not going to make it back to see her ever again, and he says goodbye to her, and it just chokes me up. It's just lovely to see how clearly they were kind of like a family back then, but seeing them now, you've got all those years in between of them still being a family just outside of being on TV, and you can feel that, I think, between the actors as well. You can feel all that history between them, which I think is lovely.
I mean, it was like seeing family members again.
Yeah, it is.
When I saw Worf with his grayness, I was like, yes, old Worf, meditation Worf. What?
Yeah,
so good. Can we talk about The Flash?
We can talk about The Flash. Yeah,
I know you've seen it. I'm not jealous at all, but I am very, very, very jealous. There is a question I think you can answer, because I know you're only allowed to kind of give reactions. But I think there's been a couple of DC films that we've had recently that had mixed reviews. I liked them all. I love Black Adam, even though I know it's got its issues. I still enjoyed it immensely. Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Chris, I think you enjoyed it. But it still has mixed reactions.
Yeah.
Is this better than those in terms of story and feeling of... I don't know how you would even label them or tier them, but like... Cool.
Yes.
I don't know how to pose that question without.
No, I totally know what you mean. And I'm the kind of DC fan that I will go and watch any DC movie and walk out and be like, oh my God, that was so good. And then in hindsight, I'll go, okay, it was great. And I do like it, but maybe it's not the best. I'm never going to say it's the best thing ever every time. So I enjoyed Black Adam. I thought Shazam was better. I'm really sad that Shazam didn't find the audience it deserved, and I hope it does on home video.
Yeah.
It's shocking. I saw the statistic today. It only made 133 million worldwide, which is like an opening weekend.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's for that movie. It's crazy.
Yeah, I feel really sad for David Sandberg because you could tell from talking to him it was a labor of love, and I love every second of it on screen. I think it's great.
I think it suffered from some of James Gunn's announcement.
Yes,
totally. Everybody kind of went, well, it's not going to go anywhere now, and everything's pointless.
Yeah,
that's too bad. Yeah.
Interesting fact about that, actually. I wasn't sure. This could just be a press thing, or it could be that they were still trying to decide. But I got to see it twice before it was released. So I had to go to a screening at Warner Brothers for seeing it before doing the interview. And then the interview that I did with Sandberg was the day of the premiere. So I was then invited to the premiere in the evening. And the screening that I had to watch for the junket didn't have the end credit scenes. It had the end credits, but did not have the end credit scenes, which those scenes suggest that there could be more storytelling. And so obviously that was, I think I saw that a couple of weeks before the big junket and the premiere. So I don't know if they were still unsure whether they were going to put anything in there that would suggest he might continue or not. And that then by the day of the premiere, they decided, yes, they were going to, because the scene was in there at the premiere. So that's an interesting sort of little behind the scenes nugget, because I had heard from some insider friends in kind of not in Warner Brothers but just in film industry that it had already been sent out to exhibitors, so the cinemas all had their copies ready to go, and that there was no scenes. Those scenes were gone, and that they had been there, and that it had been updated to remove them, and then was updated again to put them back in. So I don't know if there was some to and fro there as to what they were going to do or what was going to be in there. But sorry, to answer your actual question, yes, I think, what can I say? So there's no review embargo yet. There is no review embargo date for the film. And that's because they're still working on VFX. So I saw an unfinished version. It's only very, very small tweaks. All of the, watch your words, all of the big stuff is done. So all of that is done. In the version that I saw, it's some of the smaller stuff. So as you know from the trailer, there's lots of the two Barry Allens. Yeah. And basically what they've not yet finished is just stitching together some of the two Barry Allens. So there'd be some moments where that wasn't quite done. But I do think that story-wise, this is well above some of the other stuff we've seen recently.
Interesting. Chris and I spoke about this briefly a couple of weeks ago, but the whole Ezra Miller issue, and I know a lot of people are boycotting the film. Well, there's always the loudest bunch of the smallest people are always boycotting something. And I think Chris agreed with me that I said, well, there's 15,000 people that probably made the film. You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater to coin a weird...
It's funny that you should say baby. Just wait till you see the film.
What's your whole take on the whole Ezra Miller thing?
So, good question. We were shown a Q&A at our screening of The Flash, which was really interesting to me because it was a Q&A that had been taped in LA the night before by Andy and Barbara Muschietti. They'd done a little event in LA where they'd had a screening as well. And they really directly addressed how Ezra is doing, which I thought was very interesting. I thought it was quite refreshing to see that they weren't avoiding any questions or saying, don't ask any questions. They talked kind of head on about Ezra's recovery and how they're doing, which I thought was really, really nice. I can separate art from artist. So watching the film, I wasn't watching it thinking, oh, look who this is. This is this person who has potentially done these things that has been in the press. Yeah. I've read about what it is that they have been accused of. I've read about the things that, have happened, the arrests and stuff. But, they're a human being and they are supposedly in recovery. And I very much support a human being trying to make themselves better and, help themselves ultimately. So I would love to see them come out of this and be able to, hold their hands up and say, I'm sorry for the things I did, but, I am a better person now. I have done the work that's needed. And I hope that people will watch the performance and be amazed by it, because I think it's a stunning performance.
Interesting.
Do you think they're going to, like Warner Brothers will release that Q&A prior?
I don't think so. I think it's.
Really?
I think it was just for the journalists that were seeing the film. It was shown at CinemaCon, so it was shown to the exhibitors and shown to a small group of press in LA and London. And I think it's just a small thing. So it's been covered in the press that they discussed it. I've seen Deadline and Variety have all covered it, and I think Hollywood Reporter's covered it as well. But I wonder whether there might be something more public that addresses it later.
Yeah, just because you would think that because there still is this perception, and to hear from Ezra Miller and what they can, like, just hearing it from their mouth, that then I think adds more weight to people that may be on the fence or even that are hypercritical, and maybe put them a little bit more at ease to see, okay, like you said, they're a person. They make mistakes, and they're making steps to correct that and to correct the behavior and the mindsets and everything else. And
I also think it's one of those situations where, again, when you're on the bane of this job is being on social media so much. It's great because it means I get to meet people like you and I get to talk about the things that I love with other people who also love those things. But at the same time, sometimes you can't avoid the small minority that believe not just the things that are in the press and have been reported as fact, but the things that then people talk about that aren't fact. Yeah. So when I put my reaction out to the film, I got so many DMs that were, saying you're a paedophile supporter or that kind of stuff. Wow. And again, I don't know the ins and outs of what has happened. I'm not privy to everything that has happened. Sure. Maybe they know something I don't. They probably don't know something that I, but it's one of those situations where so much misinformation gets out there. That it just ends up becoming fact, and it's as far as I'm concerned, the facts will be dealt with by the authorities, so leave them to deal with it. All we need to know as fans and as the public is this person guilty of something, not guilty of something? Are they doing the work to become a better person? What are the bits that we need to know? We don't need to know the minute details of it. So just one of the downsides of social media.
Yeah.
That and rabid Snyder fans that tell me that I should all go die because I don't regularly tweet Restore the Snyderverse. People who I love to challenge.
I don't think that's going to happen anymore, guys. You've got to let it go.
Let it go, guys. Let it go.
Aquaman. That's going to be released. It will be released, right?
Yeah, December. I think it's supposed to be Christmas Day, but obviously we don't do Christmas Day cinemas being open here in the UK, so I think it'll probably shift for us. Either slightly before or after.
And will Amber Heard still be in it, do we think?
I believe so, yeah. The last I heard from kind of a little bit of insider knowledge on test screenings is she is very much in it. Not a huge role, but is in it. Okay. I could drop some spoilers for you, but you might not want to know.
No, I don't want to know spoilers.
He doesn't want to know spoilers. Okay, cool.
I have run out of the theater before when trailers have come on because I haven't wanted to see the trailer. So.
I've got friends who, so often when you're at a press screening, they will still show a couple of trailers before a film anyway for whatever that studio wants to promote next. And I've got friends who will sit there and just do this. They will, they'll put headphones on.
I had what was it? My wife had Nope ruined for her.
Oh no.
And I had Knock at the Cabin ruined for me because I had avoided everything other than that, the initial teasers. Because the teaser's fine. That's all I need. It's just going to give me a little bit of ooh. And so I totally get your friends who are like la, 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 la.
We are very much in an age where once you get past a teaser trailer, it's just we're going to show you everything.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so much.
Yeah, there was a movie lately that I saw, or a trailer, that it went on for like 2.5 minutes. And you're like, okay, do I even need to pay for this anymore? Because I think I've seen it all.
There's a really funny video going around Twitter today. Somebody was at a screening of Guardians of the Galaxy last night somewhere in the States, and they somehow managed to show both the trailer for Transformers and The Little Mermaid over the top of each other. So you only get to hear The Little Mermaid, but what you see on screen is this weird double, like it must have been... I don't know if it was a 3D screening or something, and maybe one was showing Transformers and one showing Little Mermaid, but the two are over the top, perfectly synced. Every cut, every beat. It's basically the same trailer.
Wow.
It's really
I gotta
weird.
go find that.
It works together so well. It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
You know what? That's going to be a new trend. We're going to see so many videos like that of people doubling up and what works, overlapping each other.
Funny. It's probably the same company that cut the trailer or something like that. It's just the standard kind of format, but it works really well. It's funny.
That is brilliant that it actually it works so well and that it's synced. Talking about going back to James Gunn. So he's half of the helm of the next 10-year project that is interwoven between TV series, comics, and movies. I'm still hard sore that we don't have Henry as Superman because I loved him. Then again, I love Brendan Roth I loved that one. I thought it was great. And I really wanted the third part for Cavill. I know he wanted to finish. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the whole kind of map of what's happening with DC?
I feel like I have an idea. And I wonder whether in sort of 10 years' time, we will see a crisis-type movie event and that you may well see that whole crew back together again to help save the multiverse. I am excited for what James Gunn is doing. I have a very kind of hardline opinion on. I love Man of Steel, I love Batman vs Superman, and I love the Zack Snyder's Justice League version of Justice League. But I am not a fan of. I'm going to cancel myself. Zack Snyder. I feel like the entire reason we're in this scenario is Zack Snyder's kind of conduct as somebody who has been part of this universe, and I know he had a horrific time, and he went through some stuff, so he did what he needed to do in stepping away. But what I struggle with is, he's an intelligent man. He worked in advertising for a long time before he was directing music videos and TV shows and movies. So he knows what he is doing when he whips those fans into a frenzy.
For sure. Yeah.
And maybe this is just because I get so much stick from them over the fact that I'm happy with what DC does in general, and I'm not rigidly stuck to one version only. But I feel like because he has never quite let go, and even last weekend he had his event where he got to screen an IMAX version of Justice League to an audience of 300 odd people, and I don't know if you've seen the video, but somebody asks him if he ever thought about doing, because obviously he did the Watchmen movie before he did Justice League. Had he ever thought about doing, I've forgotten the name of the Doomsday Clock as a movie, which is the series that Jeff Johns wrote. Very important point. Jeff Johns wrote, which was the Watchmen crossing over with the Justice League. And one of Snyder's VFX guys is on the panel and says, hang on a minute, is that not the Jeff Johns book? Snyder's completely silent, and the VFX guy says, is that not one of the Snyder books, the Jeff Johns books? And the guy who's asking the question says yes, and at which point half the panel gets up, drops their mics and goes, fuck no, and walk out.
What?
Because obviously in that narrative, it was Jeff Johns who was the one that did what happened. He was the one that caused all the problems with Ray Fisher. We know that has been resolved to some degree internally at Warner Brothers, and that Jeff was the kind of the figurehead that brought in Whedon that ended up with all of that scenario. So there is clearly issue there, but I feel like there is a more grown-up way to conduct yourself, particularly in Hollywood, on a platform where people are watching. And I just feel like some of the conduct in that camp is the reason why Warner Brothers has so much trouble on social media, and has gotten to the point where they can't technically, in the eyes of a very small minority, do anything right. Yeah. And we all see it. I've seen it this whole time I've been doing this. Every time I interact with Warner Brothers or tweet something about a DC movie, somebody will always respond with the hashtags, the sell to Netflix, the restore, all of that. It it is a small minority, but it never goes away. And I feel like that. I mean, it's great. So to have such a rabid fan base is amazing, and those movies have cult status, but never has anything had a cult status that means that no one else should, supposedly in the eyes of those fans, touch it or make it again, which is why we are where we are. You don't see it in Marvel. No, there's a different type of toxicity over there, but it's nothing like this.
And the same with Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. There is a major toxicity there too, but very different kinds.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Chris, more questions?
No, I don't know. What? I mean, you've talked about. We talked a little bit off air, and so I'm like, my brain is kind of like, wait, did we talk about this already, or did we not talk about this? Because we talked about while during recording, you talked about going to Comic-Con, right? In San Diego and even in. Okay, cool. What are you hoping? I guess. Like, what's on your top list to see or do while you're there?
So I've been to. In the end, I ended up going. I have been to San Diego just as a normal attendee 4 times. I think I've been.
Okay. Wow.
It was 2013 when we didn't get in. So then we must have gone something like 14, 15, 17, 18 or something like that. Okay. So I've been to San Diego either 3 or 4 times, and I've been to New York once as a normal attendee and once as press. I've never gotten into Hall H at San Diego, so that's a bucket list thing to do. So I was there the year that they dropped the first trailer for Batman versus Superman, and that was one that I wanted to be in the room for. But we went out and looked at the queue the night before, and at kind of 7:30 p.m. the night before, the queue went all the way around the convention center, all the way along the dock behind, all the way along the bay. And so you were going to have to sleep out. It kind of doubled back, and it was a case of you need to sleep in the street if you're even going to hope of getting in, and that was just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Which is really sad, because that was the night that Snyder drove the Batmobile up and was handing out T-shirts and stuff to people. And I would have loved to have seen that. So I would love to get into Hall H. I think we're going to get a potential Superman casting announcement if they're comfortable with it. From what I understand, I think they're looking at tapes as soon as Gunn's back from the Guardians press tour. They're going to start looking at the audition tapes and hopefully try and pin that down. I guess if they have someone and they're comfortable, they will announce it. So I would love to be in the room for that to happen. And if I could get to speak to that person for an interview, that would be lovely. Out in the universe.
Just put that out there, because you never know.
My other favorite one is so I do a lot of work on press for the DC animated movies. I'm a big fan of the DC animated movie line all the way back to when it first started with Superman Doomsday. I love those movies. And I'm very, very privileged that I've gotten to speak to the cast and crew on pretty much every single one since Apocalypse War. So that was 2018, I think. That was kind of 2018 or 2019. That was the first one I did interviews for. And so at New York last October, I got to interview the cast for, what was the one that was releasing? Super Sons, Batman, Superman, Super Sons, which was brilliant. I loved the CGI animation in that one. And it was so nice because I got to see people who I've interviewed 3 or 4 times over the years, but actually in person. So Jeremy Adams, who has written a handful of the animated movies and has been writing the Flash comic book for a while and is about to start a new run on Green Lantern in a couple of weeks. I've spoken to him on the phone 4 times, never met in person. And he walked into the room, and when he got to me, he heard the English accent, and he was like, "It's you! We've spoken on the phone so many. Oh my god, that's what you look like." And he had also written the last Mortal Kombat animated movie that they were promoting at New York Comic Con as well. So I had to interview him twice that weekend. So the second time he was like, "Really, you again?"
I'm going to ask you the same questions, just with a different movie.
Yeah. So that is lovely. And there's a guy who coordinates all the PR at Warner Brothers called Gary, who. If you've ever been to San Diego Comic-Con, he hosts a lot of the Warner Brothers animation stuff. He hosts the panels when they do the premieres, and he does a lot of Warner Brothers stuff. And he is lovely, and I've gotten to know him quite well over the years. So I actually look forward to seeing him in person as well, because he's just a really good laugh. And he runs a very tight ship in the press room.
Nice.
You would not cross him. So I really look forward to getting to hang out with them again, because they should have their next one, which is Justice League War World. Which is, I'm putting this out in the universe, that's Jensen Ackles' Batman, it's Darren Criss's Superman, it's Matt Bomer's Flash, who I have spoken to on the phone but not in person. and what's her name? Kana Static. Am I saying the name right? She played Wonder Woman in Kata. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. She was the voice of Wonder Woman in the Justice Society animated movie a few years back.
Okay.
Basically, the new continuity that starts after Justice League Apocalypse War. This is like the first movie of them coming together with that whole cast. So in theory, they could all be there.
Jensen Ackles, I would geek out so much, man.
So they had a press room for the Winchesters at New York, and it was right before one of the press rooms I was in. I think it was Titans. And so he came out of the room as I was waiting to go in. So he walked past me. So I didn't really speak to him. I just went...
Did you just go, oh, Jensen?
He walked past me.
I have touched the bud.
I'm just looking forward to really... Because I've not been to San Diego since, I think it was 2018. It's either 17 or 18. So I'm just looking for... I love the city as well. It's a lovely place. Soaking up the sunshine and just being there and enjoying it. And... being press is just going to be so much fun, I think. I hope.
Nice.
You would hope so, right? Just a little bit of that extra VIP access and a little bit behind the scenes. And
so they only just sent out the approvals just over a week ago. So the press stuff hasn't started rolling in yet. So I don't know what. Obviously, they've not announced any of the major panels or anything yet.
Sure.
So nothing has kind of rolled in. So I don't have anything planned yet. So we'll wait and see. But I can't wait. I just can't wait.
That's awesome.
Neil, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure we'll invite you on again if you haven't had enough of us just yet. And we will geek out again. Maybe after The Flash is out or something, we can...
I would love to be able to talk to you about it properly. And I may even be able to give any insight into what might have changed between the two different versions.
That would be really interesting.
That would be cool.
I think one thing that I am allowed to say is that I can tell you that the version that I saw was 2 hours and 13 minutes. And it had no end credits, so it just at the final scene, fade to black. There was no credits, so I don't know what's in there, if there is anything, which is exciting. So there is still more for me to see that I've not seen yet.
Oh, cool!
Nice, cool. Well, tell everybody again where we can find you. We'll also link this in the descriptions, but it's good to have the audio part of it too.
So if people want to find me, I'm on all your major social media platforms at Neil Vagg. And then if you want to find podcasts and everything or us on social media, it's at Get Your Comic Con.
Outstanding. Cool. Well, thanks, Neil, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks
This
so
has been a
much.
blast. I love hearing all your insight and also another British voice on South African. I don't know. South African British. I don't know.
I don't know what I am. Yeah.
But cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. Hey, you can always tweet at us, Best We Watched. Don't forget to check out our individual YouTube channels. Ruben with the Ruby Tuesday, me, Chris with Movies and Munchies. We have Patreon opportunity for just £1. You can jump in on that. Several things within or outside of the paywall, just to get a kind of an idea of what we get up to. And we also have a full audio podcast. We've linked it in the description, but you can search on any of your platforms at Best We Watched. And if you could rate and review us there, that would be outstanding. With that, hey, we'll see you next week, all right? Take care.